During this year's World Humanitarian Day, the United Nations in Geneva held this panel discussion about the 17 Sustainable Development Goals and how they will impact humanitarian work and response.
Therefore, the Secretary-General has scheduled the first ever World Humanitarian Summit next May in Istanbul. And let me once more quote from his remarks. The summit will focus world attention on how we can better meet the needs of millions of people affected by conflict, disaster and crisis. I expect heads of state and government and leaders from civil society, the private sector, crisis-affected communities and multilateral organizations to announce bold new ideas to help set the course of humanitarian action for years and decades to come.
Moderator of the panel, ESPEN, BARTH, EIDE, emphasized the unprecedented moment the world faces today.
A moment in which the world is characterized by a deep security crisis that is just getting worse, not only in individual countries and regions, but also where we see a lack of trust between key players that we haven't seen for decades, which produces humanitarian concerns and crises and disasters that we haven't seen for many, many years.
The question, how to build the right bridges between the people that actually like to help and who feel they have a responsibility and interest in contributing, but don't know exactly how, and, on the other hand, the agencies, funds and programs and actors in the public sector who at least would claim to say how the money could be spent, but they don't have the money.
When you look at corporations, the best possible partnerships are when they are acting in line with their competencies and they are helping us exactly in the areas in which they have expertise and in which they can provide us with the knowledge and the capacity that will allow us to be much more effective in what we do. When a company is able to provide us with the kind of expertise they use in their own work, that is where I believe the partnership is more relevant, much more than asking them for money to support our activities.
What is related, I think, to this question is the impact on people again, and then a number of people on the move. And Antonio may know the numbers much better than I do, but everybody is quoting or just referring to the fact that since the Second World War, we did not have so many people on the move like we're experiencing it before.
There are a lot of companies today still who would say this is a public policy issue with which we don't want to get involved. And there are companies which embrace the notion of corporate social responsibility in all its aspects. And they are interested to engage with in the way Antonio alluded to.
And I think one of the difficulties we have today is that we call everything humanitarian action. And out of that action, a tragic and disastrous proportion of, I'm sure, 90% of all humanitarian resources do and must go to conflict-related crises. Where we had large numbers of people affected for a very long time. And that funding and the capacity to deal with crises is definitely under pressure.
The UN is looking forward to the upcoming 70th session in September this year, where the General Assembly will consider the adoption of Sustainable Development Goals and appropriate implementation actions which will pave the way for international cooperation in the coming years.